Hello and welcome back. We are designing an RPG adventure together specifically for Downbelow, the cyberpunk dystopian RPG that we're making. I'm Ian.
I'm Steve, and still taking notes.
So, we talked last time about some interstitial scenes that could be triggered by players' actions that are kind of important to this story we're talking about.
Today we are going to breeze through and we're going to talk briefly about, we've talked last time about what these scenes are. This time we're going to talk, I'm going to have Ian talk about what kind of successes or failures could provoke each of those. And we've got about 5 minutes to do this, so let's get started.
And I'm going to go roughly in the reverse order they were presented in the last thing. So, the other side.
Which means, how are we going to make our players feel absolutely awful for being the victims?
So, the thing about the other side is, it's going to be one of the sort of downside of success scenes. This scene is going to be prompted by the players successfully finding out who's behind it. And the reason that they should get this information about the other side is because actually all this information about biodynamics, you should seed that as apparently non-essential role-playing supplementary description throughout your setting of the scene. Have ads for their products and other products, but have ads for their products present on billboards. Have things like this present in the world around the players.
The reason to make sure you have ads for other products around there is something that's quickly described as if the GM describes it, must be important scenario. If you only have ads for biodynamics, players who are used to role-playing games at all are quickly going to figure out that biodynamics is behind something, and that will ruin the reveal early.
But if you mention that there's an ad for the new biodynamic cyber leg that shows a happy parent running with a happy child, and the parent looks like a war veteran who had their leg blown off and is pictured in that mode in the other side of the image, but you also mention that they hear a familiar jingle of the ad playing on a nearby screen for the fast food joint, and they also see the AR ad on their heads-up display for their personal phone that directs them that they can get a free massage over here and that there's a discount on new electronics over there. That's just setting the scene, but it allows you to drop those details in, which later, when they find out that biodynamics is testing these things, you maybe put a little reminder in that scene, but the build-up that you've done over the whole thing will make that finding out about that revelation into this whole cognitive dissonance, happy families and puppies and children, but I'm going to go through horrible torture as a kidnapped medical victim.
So, was there anything else about the setting up the other side and triggering that?
That's basically what I wanted to say about that. So we're going to move on to the informant. So the informant is a scene that is going to be, again, triggered pretty much by a success. They're going to have to either catch the informant's attention with one of their successes in investigating something, because they will then look like a source, or their success getting out of something because they'll look interesting, or possibly like a victim if the informant is somebody who's having ethical concerns from the inside, or they're going to have that informant as a contact that they go to. This is not really the kind of thing that's going to come to them as a result of failure. It's definitely going to be something on the information gathering or response, or you want to create the opportunity for them to get information in response to them successfully getting out of a situation so that you can continue the story. So, by the way, this is a way that you can cause them to possibly get interested in delving deeper into information if they choose the hole up in a hidey hole route, which otherwise could potentially lead to an anticlimactic ending. You can have an informant find them non-threateningly and not actually find their location necessarily, but offer to meet them and so on.
Which would be part of the using the success to look like a victim. What's next?
Aren't You the Guy? This one is likely to be based on a failure. If they fail to hide themselves, someone's likely to recognize them, and that's likely to lead to action. This could lead to them trying to have to, silence the people saying that they look like that. This could lead to all kinds of things, but it could actually lead to them getting job offers or getting informants. Basically, the Aren't You the Guy thing is going to be a bad flavor put on whatever the next interstitial scene you do. We didn't mention interstitial scenes like fight or flight scenes because those are pretty much the same for any story. Chase scenes and fight scenes and other action scenes. All stories have them, and they come in various flavors depending on who's doing the chasing or the fighting, but they don't change in huge ways for most stories. Aren't You the Guy is going to set the players up in a disadvantageous position because they've just been recognized as potential criminals, but it could lead into the informant, it could lead into conspiracy theories, it could lead into I've got a job for you, it could lead into pretty much any of the other interstitials. Conspiracy theories. This could be led into by anything, because conspiracy theories are huge in Downbelow. Everybody encounters them because there is so much going on interconnectedly in the world that people come up with these conspiracy theories and see connections which might not mean as much as they think they do. The thing is, there are a lot of real connections to go on. The question is sorting the noise from the real conspiracies. And it just so happens that in this case, the PCs are victims of a real conspiracy, which means that they're that much more likely to come to the attention of a conspiracy theorist. So you can use the conspiracy theorist angle as a way to deal with the PCs themselves trying to put together, are we the victims of some conspiracy because it looks like we've got similar circumstances? You could use this as them successfully identifying that fact and either having a contact who introduces them to the conspiracy theory or just putting it together themselves with their own skills. And you could also use this as a failure results in them not having the answers themselves, but instead they wind up talking to this crackpot who's got these wild-sounding conspiracy theories. And in that case, they're going to have a lot of disinformation in there, but it will introduce them to the idea. I'm obviously going over time on this one because there were a lot of points to cover, but I'm going to press on and cover the other 2 points. So I've got a job for you. I've got a job for you is something that contacts say when they've got something the PCs want, but they're not willing to part with it just yet. This is a way that you can add sort of a side, not directly part of the finding out who done it and why plot to this. So you can say, well, this guy seems to know what's up, but he's not going to tell you until... And it can actually be the result of a success, because it would seem like putting another step between them and the prize is a failure sort of thing, right? Well, maybe they failed their way into I've got a job for you, and in that case they have to accept a crappier job proposition at, worse negotiating position. But it could be that they succeeded their way into it, and they're given a job with better prep that's less dangerous or whatever, and that actually this is the best scenario for them. Finally...
Such as, if they have a contact who wouldn't normally be willing to share the information because they're scared of, etc., but they use the success generates the job to show how conflicted the contact is about giving the information.
Exactly. And then curse your sudden but inevitable betrayal. This usually results from failure. This is usually somebody, they went to a contact and then they have the opportunity to spend another success to get something else, and they don't, and so the contact ends up, instead of delivering them where they wanted to be, because the players had made this arrangement, things go a little wrong, the players get betrayed, and stuff happens. However, this could actually be the result of using a contact for success. Remember what we said about distrustful contacts? Criminal and involved in the governments and corporations who are directly involved in screwing over the PCs in this scenario? Yeah, if you get something from a mistrustworthy contact, you might get betrayed even though you got what you wanted out of them, because you put yourself in their hands. So you get the information, but then you also get screwed again.
And it's also a success because it forces a distrustful contact to show their true colors.
Exactly. So that's it for today. We had a double length because there was a lot of mechanical depth to this one. And we're going to be back tomorrow with more on this adventure.